Today, I'll cover the show Fruit of Evolution. Japanese teenager Seiichi Hiragi endures a difficult life in high school due to his unattractive appearance. Suddenly, his entire class receives a message by a mysterious god who suddenly teleports Seiichi and his classmates to another world. Seiichi is separated from his classmates and emerges in a forest where he is forced to learn how to survive on his own for 5 months. In that time, he comes across mysterious fruits that enhance his body and give him a more conventionally attractive appearance. After gaining enough experience in combat, hunting, and use of magic, Seiichi is attacked by a Seria, a gorilla-like female monster who has fallen in love with him after witnessing his strength in battle. Seiichi survives a battle with Seria, convincing her to take Seiichi as her mate. Seiichi grows increasingly uncomfortable around Seria and attempts to escape by entering a cave she had previously warned him about. Unfortunately, Seiichi is attacked by the cave's sole inhabitant, the Dark Lord Xenos, and Seria saves him, but she is left grievously wounded. Enraged, Seiichi kills Xenos in battle, inadvertently releasing him from his curse of undeath and allowing to depart into the afterlife. Seiichi and Seria undergo their final evolutions, with Seiichi obtaining more magical power and Seria becoming human. They also learn the tragic history of Xenos and receive a visit from Mr. Sheep, the administrator of Xenos' dungeon. Mr. Sheep gifts Seiichi and Seria with traveling funds and a kit that could help them harvest more fruits of evolution. After leaving the forest, Seiichi and Seria decide to travel together. Meanwhile, Seiichi's classmates have been declared heroes by the king and have started training. However, some of the students aren't happy with the training sessions and want to see actual combat, much to the displeasure of Karen Kanazuki, one of the few people in the class who genuinely cared for Seiichi. Seiichi and Seria reach Tilburg, royal capital of Wimberg, hoping to join the local adventurers guild and gain official IDs. Although Seiichi is unnerved by the members' fetishes, he still gains membership for himself and Seria. To become official members, they must undertake minor jobs supervised by a veteran guildmate, Artoria Grem. While Seria looks after some children in a church, Seiichi is tasked with helping with the demolition of a local building and walking a noblewoman's dog. With their tasks completed, Seiichi and Seria are officially welcomed into the guild. Seiichi and Seria continue their tests under Artoria's supervision until Seiichi comes across a trio of demons setting up teleportation portals leading to the dungeon inhabited by the Black Dragon God. The next day, as Seiichi and Seria begin their final test, they, alongside Artoria, are teleported into the dungeon, which contains a massive labyrinth. Artoria steps on a stone that causes a huge wall that separates her from Seiichi and Seria, forcing her to find a way to meet up with them. She reaches the lowest part of the dungeon, where she faces off against the Black Dragon God, who almost kills her until Seiichi and Seria arrive just in time to save her. Seiichi slays the Black Dragon God and acquires the power of spatial magic, which he uses to take his friends back to the guild. Artoria is shocked that Seiichi would risk his life to save her and feels guilty for putting him in danger. She tells him the story of how she became known as the Calamity. She was born with 2 million points of bad luck, causing her to bring misfortune to everyone she came across. Fortunately, Seiichi gives her a special ring he found back at the dungeon. Although the ring nullifies her curse, Artoria thinks Seiichi just proposed to her, and she runs away in embarrassment. Meanwhile, news of the Black Dragon God's death reached the remaining leaders of the Demon Lord's army, causing them to worry that someone is trying to restart the war between humans and demons. Following the advice of Gussel and Eris, Seiichi goes to the Royal Library of Tilburg, hoping to find information about his fellow classmates. When that fails, he attempts to read books about magic and accidentally increases his magic power. He later goes to a nearby cafe for a meal and starts a conversation with the manager Nord and a commoner known simply as Rands. He admits he feels guilty that he just put Artoria in an uncomfortable position, so Nord and Rands advise him to be honest with Artoria and set things right with her. Meanwhile, Artoria gets advised by her friend Adriana to admit her feelings for Seiichi. Upon meeting yet again, Artoria admits she's in love with Seiichi, even though he is already in love with Seria, who agrees to share Seiichi with Artoria, a decision met with unanimous approval from their friends. Seiichi has become an A-rank adventurer and, on the advice of Gussel, decides to buy a horse. On the stables, he finds a temperamental female donkey named Lulun and agrees to buy her. After buying food for Lulun, Seiichi finds a young artist named Mei, who is having a discussion with her friend Clay about entering the royal art competition, celebrated a month after the royal race. Mei feels unsure whether she should enter the tournament, so Seiichi proposes a deal. If he wins at the royal race, Mei will enter the art competition. She agrees, but on the day of the competition, Lulun feels sick for not eating a proper breakfast before the race. Fortunately, Seiichi feeds her some of his fruits of evolution, allowing her to win first place. After the race, however, Lulun evolves into a human form thanks to the fruits of evolution Seiichi had given her. As the winner of the royal race, Seiichi is taken to Archel, the royal castle of Wimberg, where he meets Louise Bowles, captain of Wimberg's Valkyries. She challenges Seiichi to a training match to test his skills. He wins the match and she declares herself to be his apprentice. Suddenly, the king of Wimberg is attacked by an assassin and the Valkyries move in to intercept her. Seiichi uses his magic to discover that the assassin is only a child. Meanwhile, Seiichi's classmates are transferred to Barbador Magical Academy, and the Demon Nation's governing council, led by Lucia, the Demon Lord's daughter, agree to negotiate for peace with Wimberg, much to the frustration of Lucia's advisor, Kreese, who is pushing for war against the humans. Seiichi intercepts the assassin at the castle's training grounds and easily captures her. He identifies the assassin as Oriva Calmiria and leaves her to be interrogated by the Valkyries. However, the king is still left in critical condition due to Origa's curse, and Seiichi is only able to save his life by creating his own healing spell. He also discovers the king to be Ranz, the man who advised him earlier on how to solve his romantic problems with Artoria. As a reward, Ranz allows Seiichi to use the castle to practice his fighting and magic skills. Meanwhile, Zakia, the old soldier who mentored Seiichi's classmates in combat, questions the Kaiser Emperor's decision to send them to Barbador Magical Academy and is horrified to learn that Helio, a mage working for the Emperor, placed bracelets on the students to prevent them from becoming a threat to the kingdom. Suddenly, an assassin attempts to kill the king, forcing Zakia to pursue him. Seiichi and Louise watch the interrogation of Olega at the hands of Lorna, one of Louise's Valkyries. They stop the interrogation when they discover that Olega is wearing a slave collar that forces her to obey the orders of the Kaiser Empire, and Seiichi is able to release her from the collar by creating his own liberation spell. Louise is forced to investigate the activity of monsters near the borders of Wimberg, but asks Seiichi to look after Ranz in her absence. Meanwhile, Zakia confronts the man who tried to assassinate the Kaiser Emperor, an archer known as Sheen. Disgusted by the death of the demon woman he loved, Sheen wanted revenge against the Kaiser Empire for its ruthless discrimination against demons. Sheen escapes and Zakia is forced to reevaluate his loyalty to the Empire. Arcto receives a visit from Barnabas, a legendary wizard who served as mentor to Ranz. He informs Ranz about the students who recently transferred to his school, Barbador Magical Academy, causing Seiichi to realize that those new students are his classmates from Japan. Suddenly, a soldier informs Ranz that an army of monsters have begun an attack on Tilbert. Louise and her Valkyries have linked up with an army led by the Black Paladin, Wimberg's finest soldier, to fight monsters at Wimberg's borders, leaving them unable to assist in the defense of Tilbert. Wimberg's remaining soldiers and the local adventurers guild join forces to defend Tilbert and succeed in holding the line against the first wave of monsters. Unfortunately, reinforcements for the monster army arrive, leaving the defenders with no means of escape. Seiichi creates an offensive spell called Judgment that obliterates the enemy army, while leaving the defenders of Tilbert unharmed. Impressed by Seiichi's talent, Barnabas congratulates him for saving the city and offers a teaching position at Barbador, to which Seiichi accepts on the condition of waiting until Louise and her Valkyries return to Tilbert to ensure Ranz's safety. Once Louise returns to Tilbert, Seiichi and his friends depart for Barbador, but promise to return. Meanwhile, Kreese is disappointed to learn that the monster army failed to destroy Tilbert. This failure earns him the anger of the Demon Lord, who was hoping to use the negative emotions unleashed by the destruction of the city to resurrect himself. However, the Demon Lord only considers his failure to be a temporary setback and swears to find another way to regain his power. That was all. I hope you enjoyed today's video.